Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of Inside Furman Athletics. I am Dan Scott. It is great to be back with you for another week. And we're going to stay on the links. We were with men's golf coach Matt Davidson last week, so we've got Jeff Hull from the women's team in this week. Jeff was going to be our guest last week, but he had some other things going on, and engaging with one of your alumni, and you got to be the rented mule running around a golf course, didn't you?
Yeah, as she said to Mackenzie, she said, "Yeah, he gets to be passenger princess this week," meaning I didn't have to. I just drove and rode in passenger seat, and she took care of everything. It was a little role reversal, so that was kind of fun.
Talking about Anna Morgan, right?
Yes.
And she's playing professionally now. How's she getting along?
So last year, she went to first stage of qualifying school and didn't make it out of the first stage, which really kind of hurt her as far as being able to play a lot, last year and this past summer. And so, this summer we spent a lot of time, worked on some things, kind of got her game back into a good position. And then, so this week was the first stage again, and, she got through that. So that's good because now she gets into second stage, which gives her at least some status on the Epson Tour with the opportunity of then going on to full status or LPGA Tour at the final stage.
So is it almost like the professional version of walking on campus as a freshman and having to earn your way?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a hard road. I mean for the guys and the girls, but I think girls especially, it's a lot harder because there's just not as many professional opportunities out there. I mean it's the LPGA Tour, the Epson Tour, and then you've got a couple small, feeder tours. But on the men's side, they have way more opportunities. So, yeah, it's a lot harder for the women.
Well, as we were also chatting before we started recording the show today, you and I have been here almost the same length of time. I started football of 2011 was my first year, so I'm in my 15th season here. You came to Furman in 2012. You're in your 14th season overall, 10th season as the women's head coach here. And I think both of us have held up pretty good to be in this position for so long.
You know what? We're upright. That's always a good thing.
I tell people all the time, Jeff, as long as you're stomping daisies instead of pushing them up, you got a chance.
Yeah, we're in good shape. We're doing just fine.
That's good. So tell me about this year's team.
Going into it, I had told a lot of people I was very excited about the season, and then I've just kept reiterating it. I mean, this has been a lot of fun this season to start. We've got two new freshmen that have come in and have played right away. Audrey, continues to play at a very high level. The first two tournaments we had, we finished 10th in Charleston, and then we finished, third here at our home event, which maybe doesn't sound great, but the 18 teams that we played in Charleston were all very good. So we beat teams like Georgia, North Carolina State, some Power 4 schools. And then at our home tournament, the same thing. So, for a young team, I'm very excited about where we are and kind of where we're headed.
Now, did I see correctly this was that just completed the 51st annual Lady Paladin Invitational?
Yes.
And the men have, I think, their 47th annual coming up.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty strong for two golf programs at a small school like Furman, 51 and 47 years of an invitational. I'm not sure there are many schools around the country that could match that.
No, I think we're two of the oldest, and what helps obviously is having the golf course on campus. Mm-hmm. So we don't have to go find a golf course. It's been there, it's been established. The Lady Paladin is actually one of the oldest women's golf events out there, and kudos to Beth and Betsy and everybody that got that thing started years ago.
The downside to it, I guess, is that's your only home meet of the year, right?
Yeah, but that's just how it is.
Right.
That's just the nature of golf. I mean, we're lucky to play at home. I mean, there's a lot of schools that quote have a home tournament that's not really home, So I think we're fortunate, and this year it was really cool. We had a lot of the student athletes and coaches were out there on the golf course supporting us. I think that was the first time some people had actually ever watched golf. So, and that's pretty cool. So
you didn't have to go to the extreme of quietening the crowd, right? It's not like coming to a football game and
No.
yelling and screaming. So
no, but we got some cheers, which was good.
Yeah.
So that was great.
That's good. Do you use that as an opportunity to engage with not just the current players' families, but with alumni and supporters? And is it a big event that you bring people back to?
Yeah, I mean we have our family dinner on Friday night, which is really the cool part of the week, because we not only have all of the families there of the players, but we invite a lot of the support staff, a lot of the administrators, people that really help us do what we do, and that's a great way for us to be able to say thank you, to them as well.
Well, the system that has been in place here that you have helped foster and move forward obviously continues to play dividends, because you keep cranking out fantastic young ladies, not just on the golf course, but fantastic young ladies as people. But we were talking about Anna Morgan. Currently, you have Audrey Yu on your roster, who not only is the reigning SoCon Player of the Week, but she's the reigning SoCon Female Athlete of the Year. That's pretty heady stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's, for her, she carried on a pretty strong tradition. I mean, Natalie got it, then Anna won it 3 times, and then Audrey's got it. So we've got 5 of the last 6 SoCon Female Athletes of the Year, which is pretty solid. I think it speaks a lot to how hard they work and just how good of not just golfers but overall athletes they are.
But it also speaks to the ability of you and your staff to recruit high-level people here, and knowing what we know about Furman's academics and how they have to be the student part of student athlete, and you're able to continuously find these high-level young ladies who succeed not only on the golf course but also in the classroom. And I mean, hey, Audrey's a concert pianist, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so she's multi-talented.
Yeah, she's got it all. I mean, she's 4.0 bio major and pianist, and she can pretty much do anything if she puts her mind to it.
See, and I don't like people like that, because they're way too smart. I was good at math. I tell people this all the time, Jeff. I was good at math until they put the alphabet in it. And when they did that, it was over for me.
Well, my wife's an accountant, and she can do these complex spreadsheets, but, she can't add numbers up. I can do a scorecard in about a second, just, but I can't use high-end stuff either.
Oh, yeah. If it's add, subtract, multiply, and divide, I've got a shot.
I got a good chance.
Yeah, but, I don't care about your X or Y. None of that matters to me.
Yep.
We're visiting with Jeff Hull, talking about his women's golf program here at Furman. Tell me about one of your freshmen, Ava Hanneman. She's got a little bit of a golf lineage to her, doesn't she?
She does. So her mom went to the University of South Carolina right after I finished down there, and she coached at once she graduated. She actually coached at East Tennessee, and then ended up in Minnesota, where she coached, and then took some time off to raise the family. And then got back into coaching, and she's now the head coach at St. Thomas up there in Minnesota. So I always tell people that was my best recruiting job, because I out-recruited Mom, because I think it was between us. And but, they saw the value of obviously being in the South and what we do here. And so she's been great.
A little warmer, a few more opportunities to play golf down here than up there too, right?
Just a few. Yeah, I mean, and but she's just – the great thing about her is, she comes from a golf coach, so she understands all of everything. Mom's already kind of put it in her head, and so it's just great to have her. She's already, as a freshman, a very strong leader, so that's awesome.
As a coach, regardless of the sport, and I'm sure you've gone through this, when you bring freshmen in, you have to reprogram or deprogram them about certain ways they do things, whether it's how they interact with people or their golf swing or whatever. But I would imagine somebody who comes from that background, correct me if I'm wrong, I would say probably a little less of that in this case.
Yeah, there's, she's just solid. I mean, she just does what she's supposed to do.
And you like kids like that, don't you?
That's a great thing. Yeah.
Just do what you're supposed to do.
And I'll be honest with you. I mean, we're fortunate because all of our kids are pretty good, and even Olivia, our other freshman, she came in and she and Ava are just best friends, and so they hang out, and so it's just been really good start to the year.
So what does your rotation look like right now, and how are you using the fall to establish what will happen once we get to the spring portion when you start really playing for things?
Well, I mean, we don't know the rotation fully yet. I mean, we leave in a couple weeks to go to Virginia Beach, and we had our five that played in Charleston played here at home, and then the other two players, Andrea and Kelsey, played as individuals. And Andrea played very well. Kelsey has been struggling a little bit with some little bit of a shoulder issue, so we were just trying to get her some reps, if you will. But yeah, going into the next tournament, we just don't know yet. I'm pretty sure, as I told the team, Audrey's going to play every tournament. I know that much. So,
yeah, well, I mean,
so,
if that wasn't the case, we'd have to check you for a fever, right?
yeah, that much I do know.
Go with your strength. How does the overall team scoring and ranking system work in women's golf? Does what you do in the fall play a role in ultimately what will happen as far as possibly an at-large bid or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, the fall is just as important as the spring. In fact, sometimes it's almost more important because if you dig too big a hole in the fall, then it's hard to get caught up in the rankings. Our first rankings don't come out for another couple weeks. But, I think if we go have a good showing up in Virginia Beach, and then, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape, I think. But, I tell them all the time, every shot counts, every finish counts. And like in our home tournament, at one point, I think we were like in 7th or 8th place, and they grounded out. We ended up finishing 3rd, and that was huge because those 4 or 5 teams that we ended up beating, that helps us a lot, with the ranking. So.
Well, you've got, and we'll talk about this more in a moment, coming up, 2 fall matches left, both in October, the 16th through the 18th at the E.V. Odom Invitational Virginia Beach, which you just referenced, and then the 24th through the 26th, the Landfall Tradition in Wilmington, and then you're off competition-wise until February 1st through the 3rd when you begin the spring season in Puerto Rico at the Lady Puerto Rico Classic. So you've got these 4 tournaments in the fall. Obviously, from a tournament standpoint, it's busier in the spring as I'm scrolling through your schedule here. So with the space in between tournaments, so to speak, what do you do to stay sharp in the fall?
You mean before we go to our next one or before February?
But right now.
Yeah. This is a good time because we got here, school has started a little later, and so we didn't really have a lot of time to do anything. We got in and we had to qualify that first weekend, and then we left for Charleston, and then we got back, and then we had to get ready for the home tournament, and we had that. So when we were done with our home tournament this past week, I left to go caddy for Anna, and I just said, y'all take 3 days off. And a couple of them were like, well, I really feel like I need to practice. And I'm like, no, you really need like 2-3 days off. You need to just kind of reset just because we were so busy, and obviously – Furman is so tough, and they just needed some time. So gave them a few days off, came back. Now they're ready to go. So now we're just working on, trying to kind of not fix, but kind of tune up some of the areas that maybe are weaknesses, and then, try to just prepare for, the next event.
Visiting with Jeff Hull, talking women's golf here on this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. As I'm scrolling through your schedule, and I think we probably broach this subject every time you're on, but, I look, you're playing, obviously, regionally at Charleston, your own home tournament, and then you're going to Virginia Beach and Wilmington. But then in the spring, Puerto Rico, Jacksonville, Florida, down to Daniel Island, Augusta, unfortunately not Augusta National,
Yeah.
but Forest Hills, St. Augustine, Florida, before the SoCon Championships. Golf is a sport where you get around quite a bit. You spend, except for one tournament, all your time on the road. For your freshmen especially, does it take them a while to learn how to manage that aspect of it?
No, I don't think it does because, again, you've got the other players on the team who've been through it, and they help them with it. And then to your point earlier, we've got really good students. So, they know right up front they need to go to their professors and they need to tell them what they're doing and that they're going to be gone and missing some class. And so they're very good about getting their assignments early, getting them done, even taking tests early and with things like that.
Communication, what a novel concept, right?
Man, that's one of those bars we have up in our area, because that's number one.
Right. Well, and I always laugh and shake my head because I'm in the communications business, and oftentimes we in the media business seem to be the worst at communicating among ourselves about things. We're good at telling people what's going on when we're at an event, but we don't always communicate as well as we should. So it's good. I mean, that's a learned skill that's not only going to help these young ladies now, but it's going to help them as they go on in life when their Furman careers are over.
Yeah, and we used to have what we called the 3 C's in our yardage book, which was confidence, concentration, and composure. And I think you could replace 2 of those with coachability and communication, because those are 2 of the biggest things that you need in any kind of program.
When you have the established success that you have had here, how does that aid you when it comes time to go recruit athletes? And it's a much smaller roster, obviously, that you're dealing with. You have to be very careful about who you bring into your program. You've obviously got a track record of doing it right, but how do you go about assessing who is a possible fit for your program?
So Jenna Madden on our team, she's a sophomore. Her nickname's Guppy, and the reason it's Guppy is because we told her during the recruiting process, and we said, June 15th comes, and that's the day that we're allowed to contact, juniors. And so usually everybody's waiting until midnight, or they already have it set up, and they just hit send, and they've sent out, a couple hundred recruiting letters to anybody that they think would be interested.
Right.
I said, we're a little different. I said, we kind of go about it like when you're buying a little goldfish. You go into Walmart or a pet store with a little teeny guppy net and find 1 or 2 that you like, and you kind of focus on them. So that's kind of what we do. And, we try to, we're still a very, it's a unique school in that, the academics are very, very good. The golf's very good. But there's a whole lot of golf schools out there that are really good. And so, we just try to find what we've always called, the Furman kid, and that's what we've ended up doing really well with. So we're kind of maybe just a little more laid back when it comes to recruiting, because when we talk like our academic people, they see it as hey, we're a great academic school. I'm like, well, you're right, and so is the schools that we're competing against, like Virginia, Wake Forest,
right,
Notre Dame, Vanderbilt, so, and the Power 4 side. So there's a lot that goes into it, but I think, we've, especially this year, the kids that we have are just awesome.
And that is a very important point that you bring up that we don't talk about often on this campus, because not many of the programs on this campus compete with that level school when it comes to recruiting kids. I mean, football is not going to compete with a kid that's going to go to Notre Dame or one of the Power 5s. Very rarely will it happen in basketball, but in golf, I think maybe in tennis and some of these other sports. But your sport, your team, with the track record of success that you have, you are a national program, and so you are competing with these other schools.
Yeah, and that's kind of the good news, bad news thing. And so I feel like we're constantly, we're going after I call them, I want developmental kids. I want kids that want to come in here and really want to get better, not only as a student and a person, but, develop a golf game, that can compete at that national level. Audrey is a great example. She wasn't highly recruited coming in, and she just keeps getting better. And so, those are the kind of players that we love to have.
Visiting with Jeff Hull on this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics as we start heading down the home stretch of our get-together now. So tell me about these 2 October tournaments coming up, beginning, as we mentioned, the 16th through the 18th in Virginia Beach at the E.V. Odom Invitational, and then your final fall match, the 24th through the 26th, the Landfall Tradition in Wilmington.
Yeah, the Evie Odom's a great tournament. Old Dominion hosts it. Mallory Kane is a really good friend of mine. I've known her forever. She's a coach there. They really took us in last year after the hurricane. You know, we were kind of obviously displaced a little bit here, and she actually brought us up early and took care of a lot of things for us. So we're excited to go back up there. You know, this is one of the perks of what we do. We've got some nice oceanfront hotel rooms as part of the tournament. Golf course is outstanding, and it's just a really fun event. The girls really enjoy that one, and I feel like that's a tournament we can go in there and you know, have a chance to win. And then the Landfall Tradition is actually one of the oldest women's events in the country, and it's always one of the best fields in the country. So we're going in and competing against a lot of Power 4 schools that are ranked higher than us. So that's another tournament where if we can go in and finish top half of the field, that's a huge, huge tournament for us.
And as you reminded us a moment ago, just like when we talked with Matt Davidson last week, what you do in these tournaments plays a role in rankings, and if you need to rely on an at-large bid, which I know that you don't most of the time, but if you need to rely on an at-large bid as a program, what you do in the fall is as important as what you do in the spring.
It is, and again, I've just always told our players, I said, we're going to have a good schedule, we're going to play good competition, and, you know, we need to win SoCon. You know, I've just felt like, you know, if we have a good enough team that's ranked, then we should win SoCon. But that's always been our number one goal, is to go into SoCon and take care of business. And so, you know, I love the rankings, and I love to do as well as we can. But at the end of the day, every day we're trying to get better so that we peak in April for SoCon.
And if that wasn't the mindset that you had, we'd wonder if something was wrong. I mean, why put we always talk about it mostly from a football standpoint when it gets to selection Sunday for the FCS playoff field, but the last thing in the world you want to do is put your fate in the hands of a group of people who go behind closed doors and call themselves a committee.
Because I've been on that committee, and yes, you're right. You want somebody like me making that decision for you.
You said it. I didn't know you'd been.
I was going to toss it up for you, but I figured
I didn't know you'd been on that committee. That opens up a whole can of worms that maybe we'll talk about some other time. You still having fun?
Oh yeah, and you know, it was funny because Natalie Srinivasan came to our team dinner and was talking to Jason, and Jason did a great job speaking to everybody, and he said, you know, we've had a couple years that weren't as fun, but you know, as he said, he goes, "This is fun, Jeff. Jeff's having fun right now. We can tell he's smiling a lot. You know, he's having a good time, and I am. So yeah, and like I said, if I don't have any fun, I'm not going to do it."
Well, you know, the quote attributed to Vince Lombardi, whether he actually said it or not, you know, winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. I don't know that I fully subscribe to that, because there's a lot more lessons to be learned if college athletics is done correctly, and you know, we're seeing some of the results of that not being the case at the upper levels right now. But let's not make any mistake, winning is fun.
Well, and that's what I tell all my players. I'm like, if you want to have more fun, play better, because when you play good, it's a lot of fun. I mean, playing bad ain't no fun. I don't care.
It's funny how that works, isn't it? Hey, listen, it is always great to catch up with you. We'll remind folks you can keep up with what they're doing on their matches at FurmanPaladins.com. Just go to the women's golf page. The schedule is there. They have live stats at every event. Do you know if any of your events will be, you know, have some live streaming video to go with it, or? I
actually think that at ODU, this next coming event, I think they moved the date so that they could actually have some live streaming.
Oh, nice.
So that'll be, and we'll have that on the website as well once we get some more information.
Yeah, so you'll get all that info about what is available at FurmanPaladins.com. Just go to the women's golf page, and you can keep up to date with everything going on there. It's great to catch up with you. You told me that you thought that Anna might actually be around to come and say hello to us, but she had other things going on.
Well, I think the weather looked bad yesterday, so I think she decided to do some other things. But yeah, I was going to try and bring her in here and have you torture her for a little bit.
Oh, so that's it. I'm the torturer. That's the way it goes. All right, good stuff, Jeff. As always, great to catch up with you. That is Jeff Hull. And you have been with us talking women's golf here on this edition of Inside Furman Athletics. We'll be back again next week with another opportunity to see what's going on with one of the great programs here at Furman University. Until then, for Jeff and all of us at Furman, I'm Dan Scott saying God bless you and so long, everybody.